Good morning, everyone. We are here on the Billionaire Code live event, and I'm excited to have you here. Man, there's already a ton of people who have signed in. We were just getting the camera angle set up right. We have not used this particular broadcast platform before, so if there's any issues, please let me know. If you can't hear me at some point, or if you can't see the presentation that I put up in just a bit, please let us know in the chat message. So it looks like this is actually working. I'm going to stop looking at myself because it's almost like deja vu over there. And I'll see you guys in a minute. Thanks. And man, I am so excited to be here. So I'd love to see if, let's see here. If you can just tell me really quick, I'd like to know who's here, and tell me, where are you here from? Go to the chat feature on Webinar Jam. Just tell me where you're here. Hey, Stacy, how you doing? Tell me who's here, because I can't really tell who's here until you talk to me. So I know there's a bunch of you here. Julia, hey, great to see you here. Who else is here? So go ahead and let me know. Nice. Thanks for being here, Ben. Thanks, everyone. Australia, this is great. So we have Israel, Australia, I think Sweden already, United States. Keep going, guys. Tell me where you're here from. Cape Coral, this is fantastic. We even have someone here in Austin, Texas. Stacy Dillard out in the Tampa Bay area, I'm guessing. Wow, awesome. Dennis, thanks for being here. This is awesome. Michelle, Pamela. I am so excited to share the content that we have with you today. This presentation is for a specific type of entrepreneur. You know, our organization doesn't work with all entrepreneurs. We work with a very specific type of entrepreneur that wants to make a difference, that wants to create something new in the world, that has a mission, that just wants to go faster, that wants to create something in a different way, in a new way, and make a contribution, make a living, have the influence and affluence that they want. And there's a path that every entrepreneur who's done this has followed to success. And I want to share that with you today. I'm going to go ahead and bring up a slide deck. Let's see here. Give me 1 second here. This is the first time I've done it, but it's feeling pretty good so far. And so I want to share with you the Billionaire Code. And I know that that's a dramatic sounding name. And I know that for a lot of you, you think, how can I relate to billionaires? But here's what I want to share with you about today. The content is that I want to show you how every billionaire in history overcame deficits, overcame challenges, became who they had to become in order to have the effect that they did in the world. And there is a clear path to success that I'm going to share with you today. And I want you to see it. I want you to understand it. And I want you to leave this webinar feeling momentum and moving forward. Here are the goals for today. I have 3. And I want you to hold me accountable to these. You already checked in on the chat feature. I know you're here. I'm excited to have you checking in from around the world. So I want you to hold me accountable. By the end of the time we spend together, here's what we're going to do. I want you to understand the proven path to success for entrepreneurs. One of the challenges that we have today as entrepreneurs, and one of the challenges you may be feeling, how many of you feel this way? Like you should be doing more. You could be doing more. There's this energetic pull that tells you your present output, what you're doing right now, just isn't sufficient. It's not enough. You want to be making a greater contribution. But everything's not moving in the direction you want. It's not going fast enough. You're not really getting there like you want to. It's just not going quick enough. How many of you are in that place? Because here's what I know about entrepreneurs. Here's what I know about every one of you is that if you understand a system that moves you forward, you will apply yourself. And if it matters to you, you end up on top. So I want you to see that system today from entrepreneurs throughout history. And again, challenge me if you don't see it. The next step, the next goal is, and there's only 3, know where you are on the path to success for entrepreneurs. Here's why. At each transition, each stage of success, there's a different focus that we should have. There's a different place where we should be putting our attention. And the challenge for most entrepreneurs today is that we are consuming content and information, and usually far too much of it that is not what we need right now to move forward. And as a result, here's what it feels like. Let me know I'm not the only one that's felt like this. How many of you have been in the situation where you did the work? You've been following some program, some information, some content. You've been really putting your time in it, and you still aren't making progress. I had a person in my class a couple weeks ago, 5 years he's been trying to sell online. He's been a successful business owner offline, and he spent over $175,000 and hasn't really sold anything yet. So just so you know, you're not alone. How many of you have been in that place where you're investing time, effort, energy, focus, and you're putting it in like you should, but you're not getting the result? Say I agree in the chat. I want to know who's here. I want to know if I'm talking to the right people. Have you been there? Have you been in that stuck place where it feels like you aren't creating momentum? The next step, or the next goal for today, is I want you to know exactly where you should focus to ascend through this path and to create momentum. Because the more momentum we create, when we put our focus in the right place, that's when the world really moves forward. Man, is there some confirmation over here. I'm getting I agree, agreed, I still am, agree, been there, done that. So thanks, guys. There's a little bit of a delay on the chat, but I appreciate you chiming in, because here's what I want you all to just consider for yourselves. In your lives, when there's been a system that mattered to you and a scoreboard you understood and a process that you was clear, haven't every one of you ended up at or near on top, especially if the scoreboard mattered, right? How many of you know that feeling of a scoreboard pulling you, of wanting to be the winner, of wanting to be on top? Here's what I want you to understand by the end of this time we spend together is where you should be focusing now, because I think 99% of entrepreneurial pain comes from not knowing where to focus. So I want to make some things clear about this webinar. You're not going to be able to buy anything. This is not a sales pitch. I've shared this as an informational webinar, and it's going to be an informational webinar. So there's nothing that I'm going to say, hey, you should, buy this or any of this. This is the only offer on this webinar. So the offer is I'm going to give you as much information as I can to help you understand where you are on the Billionaire Code. And then I want to convince you that your time's valuable enough to fill out a short diagnostic that takes about 4 to 7 minutes, schedule a short call with my team, and get a written report about exactly where you can apply your effort, your energy, your focus to move forward. And we'll share that with you at the end of this call. I'm going to give you a link. Now, here's the thing. I want everyone to understand that our calls are limited. I'm going to put the link up. A lot of people are going to go through this, and a lot of people are going to sign up. So when I put up the link, we will very quickly lose calendar space for anybody who wants to get on one of these calls. But here's what I want you to do. Fill out the diagnostic anyway, because you're going to want to get this information. So here's what it's going to give you in writing at the end of this. This is the only promise, the only pitch. I'm making it up front so you can just relax the rest of this entire time we spend together, because I want to help you create momentum and move forward. So here's what the diagnostic will give you if you choose to do it. Confirmation of your level on the Billionaire Code. Today, I'm going to let you self-diagnose. We will help you determine exactly where you are. And by the end of this webinar, I think you're going to believe that's probably one of the most important questions you've ever asked or answered. We're going to tell you exactly where your focus should be in order to create immediate momentum right now. We've been working with entrepreneurs a long time, and we know the questions to ask you to unlock momentum. That's what our diagnostics do. The wrong questions can send you spiraling. If you ask questions like, why me? Why not, why not someone else? Why can't I just get ahead? What happened to me? Why, those will crush you. But the right questions will help you create indefinite momentum. And we want to show you exactly where that focus should be. And then the third is we're going to give you a comparison of the income and infrastructure you have against your level and the rest. Here's why. Isn't it really about income and infrastructure? Wouldn't every one of you make more income if you had more infrastructure? I want to convince you by the end of this that every one of you should be focused there, and you'll want to understand this. And here's again, I want to tell you, spots are going to be limited. They're going to be scheduled on a first come, first served basis. Don't wait, take the diagnostic, schedule the call, get on our calendar. That's the last time I pitched today. Now I'm going to answer a question that everybody asked me. Who are you? I'm going to go through this fast. I want to give you a background so you understand, one, why you should listen to the rest of this webinar. Two, why our diagnostics are so effective and why our processes are so effective. And three, to show you just how alike the two of us are. So first, I can't share anything about myself without talking about my wife, Katie. We've been together for 14 years. You know, I always struggled as a kid. I was a behavioral disorder, had a hard time, but you know, I say my family saved my life, and then Katie gave me a life. We met when we were 30. I'm 44 now, or I was 30. We're 44 now. This is one of the presentations I did. I speak a lot. You know, I go out and I help entrepreneurs create momentum. I got to speak on the deck of an aircraft carrier. This is my wife, my kids. We're in Colorado. I want you guys to know who I am. You know, I have a house where one of our neighbors landed a helicopter. My kids and I all went up and flew around. It was pretty awesome. We went out and shopped for cowboy hats. You know, I spend a lot of time with my kids, and this is a day that, you know, in Texas, you have to buy your kids cowboy hats. And then this is one of our regular activities. You know, I don't just work. I don't just hustle. I built a company so I can have a life. This is my backyard, and I spend a lot of time in it with my kids, jumping into our pool. We built a resort in the backyard so that we could have vacations every day. This is our kids in Aspen. They have this uncanny ability to get direction and attention from people. That's the fire chief who gave them about a 1-hour tour of the fire station. This is, my daughters don't go to traditional school. We unschool. And this was my daughter at a parkour camp, but she convinced somebody to show her yoga. And this is one of their classrooms. They go to an art studio and they learn how to meditate, and they learn how to be more present and more aware. You know, these days, my life's pretty wild. I hang out with unbelievable people. A good friend of mine is Sean Stevenson. You know, I get shirtless text messages from Sean Stevenson these days. It's pretty surreal. This is what our conversations look like. And guys, it's pretty amazing to be the person that gets text messages like this right before Sean goes on stage, and then right after he's done. I'm sharing this with you for a reason. I want you to see my bio, who I am, what I've done. But this is the first side of the bio. I'm going to share the other in a second. This is the day that we went to the Pentagon. I was invited by American Dream University to go to the Pentagon to help in a joint meeting of all the armed forces talk about troops in transition. You know, these days are pretty wild. This is a presentation I gave out in California. I gave a presentation at Business Rocks, or at Metal, and Dave came, and the guy on the left is actually famous. He's in a show called The Walking Dead, but I didn't really know who he was. I was just excited that Dave Asprey came, who's on the right. This is my friend Garrett. I'm a biohacker. I do everything I can to lower pressure and noise, and there's a reason. You know, I've accomplished a lot, but it's taken a lot. I've been a consultant to the Fortune 500. I've worked with some of the biggest brands in the world. Today, I'm a private advisor to some of the most successful people in the world: business owners, thought leaders, CEOs, people who are creating new outcomes. I help entrepreneurs around the world grow businesses, big businesses, empires. Every one of you should, and understand themselves better. You know, I've done a lot of consulting all the way up to and including assisting the U.S. Treasury and the Obama administration with the recovery of the foreclosure crisis through a private company that my wife and I owned here in Texas, where we had a membership of over 50 or almost 50,000 real estate agents in the past 7 years. I'm a recognized authority on business, entrepreneurs, U.S. real estate, mortgages, finance, functional physiology, feet, hydration, water, biohacking, and peak human performance. In fact, I've been invited to speak as an expert on all of these topics at conferences that are the conference for whatever this topic is. Next week, or in a few weeks, I'm speaking at Paleo FX on business, entrepreneurship, and feet and physiology. MBAs, PhDs, and MDs, and worldwide experts in their fields are my clients, friends, and advisors. It's a little weird to start sharing this part, and you'll understand why in a second. In just the past few years, I've shared the stage with Robin Sharma, Tony Robbins, John Paul DeJoria, Marcus Lemonis, Shaquille O'Neal, Dean Graziosi, and even Peter Diamandis. Some of those guys are my childhood heroes. I've been an on-air contributor to major news networks. I've done hundreds of live hits. I have an in-office TV studio. I'm broadcasting to you from it now. I've been a contributor. I am a contributor to Entrepreneur Success, Huffington Post, American City Business Journals, Inc. magazines, and we're working on a few more. And I've been an advisor to Billionaires, creator of the Self-Made Billionaires Framework, which has been shared. The first article we ever put on success was shared over 130,000 times. It's called The 10 Principles of Self-Made Billionaires. Thanks, Dennis. All of that means something to me. But here's what really means something to me is that I get this stuff. See, every client I've ever had, every billionaire I've ever worked with, every entrepreneur I've ever spent one-on-one time with has high sensitivities and could do so much more if they could calm the noise in their lives, if they could only focus more, if they could put their attention where it mattered. How many of you are with me? How many of you know you could do that? So I've obsessed all of my life with quieting the noise in my life. I'll show you why in a second. And I've created systems and processes and frameworks for growing businesses and living congruent lives that do this. See, when you read this testimonial, it's from someone whose father died when he was 29. He had his first heart attack when he was 26. He's in his early 20s. This individual's in his early 20s, and he has uncontrolled shaking panic attacks, can't breathe, and showers for 15 or 20 times a day to keep himself calm. But for 15 days, he tried just some of our physiology strategies, and he had a 75% reduction in the symptoms of obsessive compulsive disorder, where he went from 15 to 20 times a day showering to only 5 to 6. So here's what I know about our systems is that they work for anyone. And if they can work like that, imagine what they can do for you in your business, in your life, to create incredible momentum. Let me show you, I know more about the path to success than anyone you've ever been on a webinar with in just a second. And here's why. It wasn't easy for me. In school, I was labeled as slow, learning disabled, developmentally disordered. And I've been diagnosed with ADD, ADHD, dyslexia, Asperger's, autism. I even, when I was a child, heard myself referred to as retarded by people in positions of authority. And I know that just by the fact that you signed up on this webinar, how many of you are hearing about this about yourselves or kids around you or kids you know or someone's friend that you know that they're getting suggested medications or some type of a label? I had all of them. It was recommended prescription drugs because I was hyperactive and created a disruption in school. I went from special education to gifted and talented, back to normal, to gifted and talented, back to normal. The reason I share this with you is I want you to understand that I wasn't like cracked out of the egg successful. That's not how it works. Any speaker, presenter, anyone who has a story where they were successful from the beginning and it went all the way through, you should run from them because it's not real. In my life, I had irregular growth patterns and body types. I actually knew what it was like to be the short, fat kid and the tall, skinny kid 4 times. I had little muscle control or athletic ability till I was about 17. I stopped falling over all the time. I had trouble communicating with a periodic disabling stutter. I was beat up, bullied, tortured, made fun of until I learned how to hide. And I have been and always probably will be socially awkward, except for now I just build clubs of people like me. So we're all not awkward together. I was kicked out of the Boy Scouts as a Cub Scout, Sunday school, music classes, breakdancing classes, the chess club, and a fraternity in college. Here's why I share this with you. Because I obsessed over success. I experienced so much failure and so many challenges and such a reduction in momentum and such a challenge in even trying to figure out how I could move forward, that I started reading about anyone in history who had created success and obsessing over the biographies, the stories, the real life accounts of people who had created massive outcomes in the world, because I thought if I looked at them, I might be able to find something where I wouldn't just be a failure. And here's what I found. Self-made billionaires have a lot in common. In fact, how many of you just say, I want to see, I agree that this list describes self-made billionaires. Intense. I mean, think about the stories you hear of Elon Musk, where he walks by people without talking to him. He talks at such a high level, very few people at Tesla or SpaceX can even understand him. The intensity is off the chart. Intelligence. Think of self-made billionaires. They have this intelligence, this ability. They're focused. They're aware. They're relentless. They will pursue an outcome. They will not back down. They're confident. They're driven. They're curious. They're even myopic. What does that mean? That's that focus, that intensity, that one thing focus. 10,000 tries to do what? That's right, create a light bulb. That's myopic and even bold. Now I want to ask you, so there's 10, right? No, there's 11. Of the 11, I just want a number. Of the 11, give me a number 1 to 11 of how many you can relate to out of these. How many of you are 11 out of 11? How many of you, that compared to the rest of the population, remember, there's people who collect tolls. There's people who don't really want to do a lot. There's people who really are waiting excitedly until the day that they can do nothing. So compared to the rest of that population, where are you? Give me a number. How many? How many? So I'm getting a lot of 11s. Keep them coming. 110. I bet you anything I could talk you into it, Stacy. Dennis says at least 10. I bet you I could talk you into the last one, Dennis. Patricia, 11. Shannon's a 5. Shannon, there's no way you're hearing a 5. Now I want to take this live and just talk to you directly and help you understand how powerful you are, because compared to the average person, you're above this. The average person wouldn't be on this webinar. I have 10, 11, and then Stacy's laughing about the fact that I'm pushing her. Cheryl is a 7. Cheryl, I want to push that because here's why. Most people just wouldn't even rank themselves on this list. Most people wouldn't relate to relentless or restless or driven or curious. And every one of you knows that you have at least those. The awareness I'm talking about is that awareness where you're able to understand what's going on and then the subtext of what's going on, what's being said and everything else. Now, I want you to see something for everyone, because even if you answered 5, Shannon, and even if it was low as 7, Cheryl, here's what we have in common with self-made billionaires. When pressure and noise goes up in our lives, the intensity becomes aggression. We've seen it. Think of Bill Gates. He spent his entire adolescence, his entire 20s going against the world. It was a screw you to everyone. When self-made billionaires, their intelligence can be seen as arrogance. Their focus can become obsession. Their awareness can become sensitivity. Howard Hughes hid behind a door because he became so sensitive. He was afraid of germs. He lived in the rest of his life after he had that sensitivity, pressure and noise go out of control. He didn't want to be around other people. You look at the lives of self-made billionaires, that relentlessness becomes cutthroat. We've seen it. We've read about it. It's a lot of where the negative behavior or negative opinion comes from for entrepreneurs. Relentless, confident, and driven become hyperactive, conceited, and even compulsive. And one of the biggest knocks on entrepreneurs is that curiosity, that focus, that myopia, our boldness can make us look paranoid, antisocial, and risky. Here's all I want is a simple yes. If you, like me, know that if you're here in the positive behaviors that have helped entrepreneurs throughout history become billionaires, that have helped you create your life, that have helped you move forward, and you know that if pressure and noise goes up, you can easily go here. Just give me a simple yes. Because every entrepreneur I've ever worked with one-on-one, every person I've ever been able to help create 7, 8, 9, and even 10-figure equity in the world has that same characteristic. I've written so much about this. I actually wrote the book on the entrepreneurial personality type and how we as entrepreneurial personality types can go from one side to the other, and we can have low pressure. When there's low pressure and noise, we have positive behaviors. When there's high pressure and noise, we challenge everything in the world. And here's what happens. I want you to see where that noise comes from. The desire to contribute has gone up for every one of you. I'm going to take a flying leap. I'm going to guess that every one of you is in a place where your desire to contribute is going up over time. I'm going to guess that every one of you is in a place where what you want to do is going up over time. Whoops, I hit the wrong button. Sorry, everyone. Let me get it back. And how many of you are hearing what we call the call of contribution? And you don't have to answer anything. I just want you to think about this one. Take a deep breath. How many of you know that you're hearing that call that says, hey, there's more for you here? You should do more. You can be more. You should create more. That call of contribution that started as a whisper, then started louder and louder, started talking, started droning, and now it's screaming, saying, you should do more. Go now. I know what that feels like. And I know what it feels like to feel stuck there because you don't have the infrastructure you want. We call it the contribution gap. It's where we want to be, but where we are. And that where pressure and noise comes from for us. You want the primary cause of pressure and noise? It's that we aren't doing everything we want to do. We aren't being everything we want to be. We aren't creating everything we want to create. Great entrepreneurs throughout history have told us this at the end of their careers. They have called back to those of this at the beginning and said, get help. Build a system around you. Tell people what's really going on. Be transparent. Treat others like you would treat yourselves. We've heard this forever, but we miss it. And today, I want to show you how you make this near impossible transition, why 70% or more of companies fails, why as many as 95% of products company fail, is because here's what you have to do to start a business. Execute, do everything, drive the day-to-day, sell every customer, work tirelessly, execute the plan, focus on a to-do list, sell yourself, create value, focus on survival, and build a customer list. How many of you are there? I've done it so many times I've lost count. Now, to transition, you have to change 100% of what you do. Everything. You go from executing to delegating and co-creating. You do everything to specializing. You have to go from driving to managing, selling to creating a customer service strategy, from working on everything to creating a performance culture so everyone else will, from executing the plan to creating the strategy around the plan, from focusing on your to-do list to focusing on the future or your company will never be created, from selling yourself to selling the vision, the mission of where you're going so you can recruit others into your fold, creating value to creating and supporting your company's values, and focusing on survival to focusing on growth, profitability, and stability, and from building a customer list to building a management team. And that, my friends, is one of the most difficult transitions a human being will make in their entire lives. And that's why I say that growing a business is one of the most spiritual activities we can undertake in our lifetimes. Because the level of growth it takes to get from the left side of this slide to the right is absolute. You change everything. Not part of what you're doing, not part of your perspective, not what you're focused on, not just where your time is, your energy, your effort goes, not just where you're spending your money. Everything changes in this transition. And for the first time, I believe in the history of man, I'm going to show you exactly how every entrepreneur in history has created success, has gone from seeker all the way to full entrepreneur, has gone through the levels of success. See, it starts with seeker. Guys, it doesn't matter where you are. And here's what I want you to do. When you self-identify, I want you to say, I am a, and then tell me what level you're in as soon as you hear it. Because here's what a seeker is, guys. Here's actually, you know what? I want to go back one. I'm going to go back one because before the seeker, before the billionaire code, before even any of us is thinking about being here, here's what happens. There's this entire other crowd out there, the rest of the world. The rest of the world that has a job, the rest of the world that just wants to get by, the rest of the world that doesn't really want to do anything, the rest of the world that doesn't really want to create momentum, the rest of the world that would like to be left alone and not have to do anything. Guys, there are people out there that are literally waiting for the day they don't have to do anything anymore. Now, what happens is we divorce ourselves from that crowd as entrepreneurial personality types, and we ascend up from average, up from desperately clinging to the status quo like the rest of the world does and declaring we will be something different. And a seeker, it's that person who doesn't really know what they want to do yet. They're not making a lot of money, but they know they want to do something. That question that they're asking is, how do I stop pressure and noise? Because for the seeker, everything's noise. It's what direction do I go in? They don't have a team. They need to pick a team. Seekers dabble with their time. They're doing a little of this and a little of that, and they're taking a class and they're going to a seminar and they're getting some coaching and they're listening to a podcast, but they're not doing anything that actually creates forward momentum. And where the focus should be is this: self-identity. Because if you're a seeker, here's what I want you to understand. The only question you should be answering is, what do you want to do? And you have to have enough confidence to tell people about it. Because seekers have to pick a direction. And for far too long, tons of the vast majority of seekers just stay dabbling and don't commit and don't go into a direction. There's a lot of seekers in the world, and there's a lot of seeker businesses in the world. I'll give you an idea of how you can get all the numbers at the end of this presentation. But right now, I just want to go through the levels. So how many of you identify with that, with seeker? You're looking to make that next transition. Now, here's what's interesting. You can be an experienced seeker making a lot of money, because how many of you are in the place where you have experience, you've done it, but now you're trying to figure out how to do it brand new? That's seeker. You transition from seeker to starter. You start asking the question, what is wrong with me? Because what you want to do is start moving things forward. Hey, now you've become a team. You know what it is? It's a team of one. When you're in this starter place, you still don't have a full-time business. You still don't have, a conversion system. You're still not really selling enough. You've got enough that you're starting to get value to people. Starter businesses usually look like $50,000 to $75,000, all made in different ways. And what your focus here should be is on your skills and what value are you creating? What product, what outcome, what service, what value are you creating as a starter? Because here's what happens to far too many starters is they start one thing, then they start another thing, then they start another thing, and they carry seeker habits into the starter where they're actually working part-time, but on a bunch of different things. How many of you are in that place of starter where you're starting up? You're still in part-time and what you want to be doing. Like maybe you have another business. Maybe what you really want to be doing is part-time. What your focus should be is skills and value creation. If you focus there, you'll move forward. So now here's a big transition, and I'll tell you about it in detail in just a bit. But the transition from starter to promoter is where we actually go full time. The promoter starts asking all the time, how do I get ahead? Here's why. You have something to sell at this point. You figured that out in starter. You're creating value. This is where the lawn service finally has a service that it can provide over and over again, and you can go out and sell. And typically what your team looks like is you, a contractor, an assistant. You're working full time. This is where you've made the transition to full time. And here's where your focus should be: automated lead generation and sales. Lead generation and sales. Lead generation and sales. Lead generation and sales. And you know what? At the beginning, it might not be automated. It might just be calling people. It might just be finding people that need help. The promoter should focus on promoting, because this is where we create the momentum to make the transition to the next stage of the Billionaire Code. How many of you are promoting right now? How many of you are promoters? You're making money. You're working full time. You're trying to get more leads, more sales, build that business. Just put promoter in the chat. Now, the graduation from promoter is an interesting one, because all along the Billionaire Code, I want you to understand something. What got you here is going to hurt you moving forward. So Nicole, if you're a promoter, Cheryl, you're a promoter, what got you here is going to hurt you moving forward. Because here's what you want to do: a solid promoter, somebody who's really gotten through this stage, has good lead generation and a solid conversion system. It's happening over and over again the same time. They can get consistent sales. And if you do that, you graduate to the next level. But watch, here, a promoter, what you literally have to do is sell yourself all the time. What you have to do is go out and tell everyone about yourself all the time. You're constantly selling. You're constantly facing outward. You're constantly showing everyone else. You're constantly doing all of these things. And then you graduate to builder, and everything changes at builder. Here's why. At builder, you ask, how do I get even further ahead? I'm promoting myself. I'm doing all this. Well, this is where you have partners, assistant, contractors. You're working overtime in Builder. You didn't know you could work harder than you were in Promoter. Now you're working overtime in Builder. Because here's what you have to do as a builder. You graduate when you're promoting a lot. You have to start building systems around what you do well. And that requires typically a switch to where you're taking on maybe a partner. A lot of promoters or a lot of builders do. An assistant, contractors, maybe even 1 or 2 team members. And this is where you want to automate your marketing and dial in your sales and delivery. Because here's where you build the foundation for the next level. And guys, here's what I want you to see. Entrepreneurs start building teams as soon as they go full time. We just don't admit it to ourselves. You can be the solo entrepreneur with no contractors, no assistants, but it just doesn't make sense. Because when you learn the skills to contract and get assistants, then you go to Builder and then you can find other assistants, other contractors, maybe even bring in 1 or 2 assistants as you get up the Billionaire code and go through operator. Now this is fun. We make this massive switch from how do I get further ahead to how does my team get further ahead? We start asking we. And here's your team. You go from contractors, people, all these other things to one solid team that you run, where that team replaces what you do well. And here's what you do with your time at this point. You delegate your time. It goes from overtime to delegating, to getting as many other people to help you do what you do well, co-create the systems to get the business to grow as fast as it can. And your focus is delivery systems. It's getting repeated delivery so that you can do it over and over and over again and scale your business. How many are you in this operator where you're building that one team? Because a graduating operator, here's what it looks like. That one team grows the opportunity for the business, grows revenues, gets it to the point where now people on that team have to move into leadership. You have to go from operator to leader because now you're creating leaders. Here's how this one works. Now you have to ask, how does my team get even further ahead? Further is missing there, but it should say, how does my team get further ahead? Because now you have multiple teams with leaders. You go from that one team to now you have a manager of sales with some salespeople. You have a marketing person with a couple of people who help them. You have and you might build out teams in whatever discipline your company has, but it becomes multiple teams, multiple leaders. And here's the massive shift you have to make to go from from operator to leader, is that you have to go from managing the success, from delegating time to delegating success. Think of that transition. You go from telling people what to do with their time to asking them to create success because you have multiple teams, multiple leaders. You can't do it all yourself. And your focus here should be on becoming a transformational leader, because at this point, your ability to lead will equate to your level of success in your life as an entrepreneur. We miss this far too often. The transition from leader to owner is where we say, how does my team get even? This is where we say, how does my team get even further ahead? This is where our team becomes an executive team and a leadership team. We start having multiple levels of leadership. And here's what's crazy as entrepreneurs. This is where we give up autonomy of time. It's so weird. What got you here will hurt you moving forward. See, here your focus is on culture, recruiting, team development, leadership development. Because here you're delegating success and you're having people do what you do well. You're getting them to get you outcomes. Here, when you get to owner, how does my team get further ahead? When you have an executive team, a leadership team, not only can you not make all the decisions anymore, you don't even know where the best place to spend your time is. And this is a massive shift for entrepreneurs because there's a fear in giving up autonomy of time. We went from dabbling to part-time to full-time to the pain of overtime to starting to delegate time to seeing the delegation of success. Now we have to let other people control our time. You're not going to hear this anywhere else but here, because most coaches, most consultants don't understand this. They haven't walked people through this path. They haven't helped people create massive outcomes in the world. I've watched it up close. There's only one way. Don't try and argue with this. Accept that this is how it works and lean in to the bottom row of focus. Because if you want to really create massive empire, massive outcomes in the world, you become an investor. where you ask the question, how do we help others get ahead? And your entire team looks outwards. This is where you have an investment leadership team, company leadership teams. You're running multiple organizations. It's your time is where everyone involved is looking to maximize your return on time. Because when you get to an empire, investor, where you're building an empire, where you're expanding, where you're at the tens of millions, hundreds of millions, here's what happens. Your time is worth more than just about anyone around you, and maximizing your return on time is crucial. Because when Richard Branson shows up somewhere, people will donate money to charity. When Elon Musk goes somewhere, Tesla's stock price changes. When you have that power with your time, you maximize return on time. And then the next step, to show you where you're going, every one of you as entrepreneurs, should you choose to ascend through the Billionaire Code, you reach full entrepreneur, where you ask the question, how do we help everyone? This is where your team is a full conglomerate team, an executive team, a management team, an investment team, and usually a team that helps you oversee everything, including a family office. This is where you give away leveraged time. You can give away as much as you want, and it has the highest value it's ever had. This is where you maximize your legacy and your contribution. This is the Billionaire Code. And it is the proven path to success that entrepreneurs throughout history have taken. And I want to show you the major shifts that we help entrepreneurs with. This major shift from part-time to full-time, understanding what you want to do. We help entrepreneurs understand where they want to go, build businesses. And here, this is where you commit to being an entrepreneur. The next major shift is where you actually leverage time and you start building a team. You cannot transition from builder to operator without building a team. You can maximize your income level at builder, but you will stop your influence, your affluence, the impact you can have until you get the leverage of a team around you. The next major transition is where you buy time. See, in the next level, you are investing as much as you can to get your time back. You see every entrepreneur in history doing that. And then the last transition is where you truly build your legacy. The Billionaire Code is the proven path to success. And I want you to understand exactly where you are. So there are limited slots available. If you go to sharfen.com/momentum diagnostic, you'll take a 4 to 7 minute questionnaire. You'll take the diagnostic. You'll have an opportunity to schedule your call. We will get a custom report to you and show you exactly where you are. We'll confirm the level on the Billionaire Code, exactly where your focus should be to create immediate momentum, and a comparison of the infrastructure and income you have against your level and everyone else. The spots are limited, first come, first served basis. These 3 deliverables are some of the most valuable you will ever have as an entrepreneur. I'm going to take a 30-second break, come back and answer any questions anyone has. So the first question that I have is, how do we speed up the process of the Billionaire Code? Michelle, that's exactly what our organization does with entrepreneurs. Fill out the diagnostic. And in this diagnostic, we're going to show you where you can apply your focus, your effort, your energy, your attention right now in order to create momentum. That's a free service we provide. Then our team will also show you which of our solutions match up for you, which you can choose to move forward with or not. But we want to show you how we help people ascend through this process. Because here's the challenge, Michelle. You will create operational drag if you are doing the wrong thing in this process. In fact, what you're doing is either giving you momentum or it's taking it away. And here's what happens, Michelle. If you are in a place where you should be thinking about creating leads and selling, or you're in a place where you should be understanding what you want to do next, or you're in a place where you should be figuring out a specific part of the Billionaire Code, and you're doing something else, here's what happens. It's not only going to like not give you momentum. Here's what happens. It takes it away. I want you to all internalize this. Content is a drug. It's either giving you momentum or it's taking it away. I am so careful about the content I put in the world. I've worked with neurologists, with some of the top psychologists in the world, with Robert Cooper for over a year, proving our content to make sure that we wouldn't cause damage, because there's so much out there that just is doesn't work and doesn't actually move people forward. So I want you to jump on and take this momentum diagnostic, sharfen.com/momentum diagnostic, and let us help you, Michelle. I just changed this because I think I had the wrong URL on the last slide. So Jesse, great question. Where do you find that people get stuck most often? Jesse, I'm going to jump back here and show you. Here's what happens. It's so hard to make the transition out of each one of these levels. Once you get to about promoter, things get hard. See, I've seen people go past seeker in a day. They've gotten onto Awaken Your Superpower, one of our programs. They've understand where they wanted to go. They've lowered pressure and noise. And it's like, hey, here's where I want to go. I'm going to do this. So I've seen people get out of seeker in a day. To get to starter, where you're working part-time, you're making some revenue, you're converting some stuff, you're selling some things, that takes a little bit longer. And there's some investment, you're really putting time in. Well, you get to promoter and now you're selling consistently, you're working consistently. And here's what happens, Jesse. To go from promoter to builder, you have to actually stop getting all the attention, stop being the one who does all that stuff, and get systems and processes around where you get your significance. And so here's where people get stuck, Jesse. They get stuck in each transition because we build up our significance at each level of the Billionaire Code and we don't want to give it away. And a step forward can often almost feel like a step backward. Shannon asks, do you recommend we read any key books? Yes. I think that you should read The Entrepreneurial Personality Type. If you haven't downloaded that yet, you should go to our website and get the book or the book in audio and read it. And here's what it'll do. It'll confirm for you that you are either absolutely one of our clients or not. And if you relate to the entrepreneurial personality type, then we have the systems, the frameworks, the structure to help you grow any size business you want. Let's see here. Stacy, I'm constantly resisting my content junkie monkey. Stacy, I want you to resist that. I think what you're talking about is that never-ending loop that we get into as entrepreneurs, where we listen to content, we don't apply, we listen, we don't apply, we listen, we don't apply. I call that a negative loop, and it can become a negative spiral. Guys, content is a drug. I had a client that was listening to or that was reading a book a week for a year. He was in some type of a challenge, and about halfway through the year, he fell behind. So he started listening to books on audio tape. Well, you know what, guys? We get a rush from content. You all know this. You get a rush from content. There's a reason you go consume it. There's a reason people watch Gary Vaynerchuk. There's a chemical reactivity to watching people go through things, to watching content, to reading marketing. We actually get that euphoric feeling of having created momentum. But the problem is that if we're watching a lot of it, it can actually move us sideways or backwards. And Stacey, I appreciate you bringing it up, because so many entrepreneurs, me, Katie, people that I've worked with have gotten in this place where they're just like my client. So he went from book a week to listening to books on audio tape to listening to 2 or 3 books a week to, I talked to him at one point and he was listening at 200% of the speed or 300% of the speed. And he was listening to 6 or 7 books a week. Guys, that's just noise at that point. So congratulations, Stacy. And I'm so excited that you're in our Get Started and Monetize program for seekers and starters. That monthly coaching program, it's going to be amazing for you, Stacy. And I'm so excited you're in it. Benjamin asks, after going through Awaken Your Superpower and with access to constructive company, flipping between promoter and builder, what's the next step? So Benjamin, so we're about to have a program for that flip between promoter and builder at $1,000 monthly rate. We don't have it right now, so I apologize. But because you've taken Constructive Company and awakened your superpower, the next logical step to get past that place is you becoming more effective, more efficient. And if you go through the momentum diagnostic, what you probably will be recommended is our planner program. But I would recommend the planner program to you, Ben. So if you want to call in, we can help you with that and make sure that you get the right thing. So let's see here. Is there any other questions? Is there anybody else who has anything they want to bring up? I'd actually like to come back and like see if I can come back live and be back to the camera, but I don't know if that actually happens. Oh wait, here it is. I think this is gonna. Yeah, you know what? Maybe I should have. Oh yeah, did it work? Are you guys seeing me? For a second there, I thought you were going to be able to see me on the camera, but it doesn't look like it's going to work. So anyway, if there is, so Ben, you did the planner, then keep in touch with us and let's get you. Actually, if you go through the momentum diagnostic, you will be one of the first people to hear when we introduce that new product. So as soon as we put out that new coaching product, we are absolutely going to let you know. And Ben, thanks for the comment. I'll read it to everybody. Thanks for the confirmation, brother. I really appreciate it. Before going through Constructive Company, but have access to it, use your planner every single day. So I appreciate that, Ben. All right, everyone. I don't think there's any other questions. I just want to thank you all for being here. If you can't out on social media, go on Facebook, use the hashtag Billionaire Code and share. If this webinar did anything for you, do me a favor, tell some people out there, because there's so many people who aren't adding value, who are trying to pitch, who are pushing people way too hard. And I want to find entrepreneurs who are looking to grow and scale massive empires, but who are anywhere on the Billionaire Code and are looking for real, actionable help. So do me a favor, post something on Facebook and let people know that you attended this webinar and tag me. I would really appreciate it. And fill out the diagnostic. Go to sharfin.com /momentum diagnostic. It doesn't matter what level you're in. One of the programs we're putting a lot of time into right now is for people who've never done anything or who haven't done anything in what they want to do. And we can't wait to talk to you, to share with you how to move forward, to give you the systems and strategies that'll help you move forward. And I look forward to helping you. Oh, shoot. Small issue. Just went to your website and couldn't get in. Can you help? Yes. I will probably have somebody running in here right now. But Terry, tell me what URL you went to. But if it was sharfin.com /momentum diagnostic, you know what? I probably need to confirm what this is. And we're going to get it out in email. But give me a second. I'm going to go grab Lewis and find out what URL I should be giving you. Hey, Lewis. Yeah. So I'm going to just get an email address. Yeah. Okay.
I'll get on there. I'll get on there and talk to you.
All right, great. Thank you, Angela. So let's make sure that we have this. Sharfin.com. Okay, so here's another URL, and I'm going to make sure that everybody has this. And so please go jump in and take this diagnostic. I'm sorry about that there was some issues there. This is a new webinar, and we're always working through issues. So let's see here. If there's any other questions, let me know. Thanks, Stacy. Thanks, Angela. Appreciate you guys. And otherwise, we'll make sure that the link is in the follow-up email. I want to thank you all for attending. I appreciate you being here, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. If you're filling out those diagnostics, we look forward to connecting with you.